Hello, my name is Sean Erickson. This is my podcast, Loss, Love, and all the other shit in between. Now, this is season 1, episode 1, and all I wanted to do was get my voice out there and start a podcast. And the main reason behind it was there was two options I was looking at. I was looking at publishing a book, but I just felt I needed to get my voice out there first and foremost. Now, this is more of an introduction to me and what this is all about and what I want from the podcast, and share my experiences, and hopefully somebody listening, somebody watching would get something from it. If not, the main reason I'm doing it is to just air my views, and if it helps me and helps with my mental health issues, then then I've done my job. Now, with loss, I've been through quite a lot over the last few years, and it all started when I was 17 years of age, when I lost my best friend. It was a part of my life that I can't put into words, and I'm sure, and I know for certain, his family were in a lot more pain than I was. But I was 17. I didn't quite know how to express my feelings or to share my views on the matter. It was just something, it made my life so empty, and I was so lost for many, many years since then. And from that time, I lost my nan. I lost my dear mother. And then 5 months later, I lost my little brother. It was a very painful time, not just for me, but for my family. But for me, it just didn't make anything real. It just felt like my whole world had fallen apart, and I didn't know who to speak to or who to turn to. And as men, we don't tend to express our feelings. We don't want to show our vulnerabilities, because it's been drummed into us from an early age as men that you have to be strong. You can't show any sign of weakness, because you're also told that no woman is going to ever be attracted to somebody that cries or releases any kind of issues that, at the end of the day, it's not normal really for men to do that. So for me, I just got to a point in my life now where I just feel I needed to talk. I went to counselling many a times, and it was great. It worked, I felt, for a short period of time, but it comes back. I think you need to be in counselling forever, really, when is there an actual ending to it all. So for me, you got to have a good circle of friends around you. I know as most men won't sit in a bar and talk about these things, because it can bring a dampener through somebody's day, and you don't want to do that. And as men, we don't want to be a burden to anybody. But we'll always be there to protect, and we'll always be there to help others. And that's what I do. That's what I live for. I live for helping people. I always feel like it's my purpose. It's what I'm meant to do. My mother was a single parent, so my mum was both my parents. So she had to juggle 4 kids, and she did the best job that she could have done, for sure. She wasn't perfect. She was far from it. But I wouldn't have anyone badmouth my mother, for sure. That would never happen. I wouldn't stand for it. But there was times that I felt it could have been dealt with differently. And I think when you then become a parent yourself, it's apparent that certain things that were instilled in you, you can use some of it, but then you adapt it to the way you believe is the correct way of doing things. So we were sheltered away as kids. We never spoke about death. We never spoke about afterlife and heaven and any of that kind of stuff, because as a parent you try and shelter your kids away from the pain. And losing somebody is by far the worst pain you'll ever go through, other than actually injuring yourself and what have you. But when your heart breaks, that's really difficult to mend and fix. And it's all to do with distraction. It's about distracting your mind, keeping your mind active and having hobbies. But when you spend so much time on your own, you know, you end up in them dark spots again, and it's really difficult to deal with. And no book and no person's going to tell you any different, because everybody's different. And how certain people deal with it. I mean, through my work, I've heard people at work say, look, come on, depression, it's not real. You know, it's a sign of weakness. I find that difficult. You know, you've got to be diplomatic about it, and you've just got to basically ignore what they've got to say. But I've heard people at my work say that, and it's not right. You know, they say it's a chemical imbalance. They say it's, you know, certain people's minds don't work the same. Yeah, I get that. And most doctors will pump you through medication and antidepressants. But all that does is just clouds your brain. It just clouds your mind, and it numbs it, and it takes away the pain, because then you don't have any thoughts. And I was on medication from the age of 17. I was put on antidepressants, and I was on 50 milligram for a long, long time, and it used to knock me completely out. And then the next day you'd just be null. There'd be nothing there, just an emptiness. And then you're supposed to juggle your everyday life, and it's really difficult. So my mother took me off the medication. She weaned me off it, and I came off it. But, you know, then it just came back to the forefront again. And when I lost my mother, that was really difficult, because I lost my go-to person. She was my everything. And not having her in my life meant that I didn't have that escape, you know, from the stresses of being a parent, stresses with work, stresses with money. I always go to my mum, you know. I'm a mummy's boy, you know, and that will never change. Even though she's no longer here, I'll always be a mummy's boy. I'll always miss the time that I spent with her, and it was the best memories, the best times. But losing her was just everything, and it was really difficult. And to make them decisions that we had to do, me and my brother, well, we had to make a decision that when she came out of the coma, and she went into cardiac arrest, we had to make the decision of turning the machine off. And that was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, because I felt like I was giving up on her. But one thing she said to me growing up, that, son, if I ever get to the point where I have to be looked after, and somebody needs to bath me and clean me and feed me and take me to the toilet, then son, you need to turn the machine off. I don't want that. That's not the life that I want. And my mum, very independent, she would do things for herself and for others, but nobody would ever do stuff for her, because she wouldn't have it. She was old school. You couldn't even help her doing the cleaning around the house, and Sunday was her cleaning day. And we always felt bad, because we always had to lift her legs when she hoovered, and we thought, why are we sitting here watching telly? We should be getting up and helping Mum. And then we say, Mum, can we pick up the hoover? No, it's my job. And that was just the way she was. But I wish I could have done more. I really wish I could have done a lot more for her, you know. Even just Mother's Day, when Mother's Day comes up, That's really difficult for me because at that time, when Mother's Day came around, when she was still alive, we would just go around and spend that Sunday with her, and she would cook dinner because that was what she did. Mince and totties. And I wish I took her out more. I wish I took her to restaurants. I wish I took her on little holidays around the UK. You know, she didn't have to travel. She wasn't a fan of flying. She didn't like flying. So I could have put her in the car. I could have taken her to the beach. I could have done anything with her. But at that time, you just take it for granted. You're just like, Mum, you know, she wouldn't want to do that. But it was really difficult when she left. And it hit us hard. And it, you know, hit my little brother even harder. And he died on Christmas Day. So, you know, since then, every Christmas, it's always difficult. It's always a painful reminder. And leading up to Christmas is by far the worst week of my life. And even though it's supposed to be the happiest time of your life with your family, it just keeps on bringing up them painful memories. And the last day that I spent with him was Christmas Eve. We were all together as a family, and he wasn't too great then. So yeah, so that's a little bit, a little bit of what's, you know, happened in my life. And then when it comes to love, yeah, it's a difficult one. That's a subject that's really difficult to talk about. I think for me, I've just had really bad luck. In choices that I've made. You know, I was married for 23 years and it was great. There was no issues as such, but just normal everyday issues. But I'm now divorced and having to start my life again in my 40s. It's been really difficult, and it's just the way of the world right now, and then just the way it is with online dating and what people are actually wanting. I think the biggest frustration for me is that people on their bios will say, you know, they're looking for long-term relationships and they're looking for certain things, and then when you match them, you try and organize dates, you try and organize getting together, and then they're like, oh, you need to slow down a little bit. And then most of them just become pen pals. You know, you could be talking to them for like a month and you're not even getting together. But for me, life is too short. And for me, I'm all about going on that date. We go for that date. And if there is no connection and there's no instant physical or mental attraction, then we leave it as it is. I don't waste your time. You don't waste my time. End of. And it's not about being cold. It's just that the illustrious soulmate that everyone's searching for, you're never going to get it if you're just continuously fighting for the same girl. You know, that's never going anywhere. So that's a frustration for me, and I really struggle with that. I've only ever dated women I've worked with, because you spend most of your time at work. That's where I met my ex-wife, from work. But then when you work in a place and everybody's younger than you, then there's always that struggle that you're always looked upon as the old guy. Even though I don't feel old, I may look old at times, but that's just strain and life and being a parent and everything else that adds life onto you, or adds the years onto you. But for me, yeah, I'm looking for love. And I've got a lot of love to give. I feel like I'm on an interview. And just certain people don't see past your looks. You know, I don't feel ugly. I know I'm not ugly, but at times certain women make me feel ugly. Because I look at myself and I think, well, why wouldn't they want to date me? You know, I'm a good guy. I'm a great father. I'm a great friend. I'm a protector. I do what I need to do for the people that I love. But certain people have their opinions, certain people have their choices, and at the end of the day, that's their choice. You can't make somebody love you, but we just plod along. That's what life's about. And then you wake up and you go to work the next day. So yeah, that's just a little small introduction. I'm sorry if that waffled on a little bit there, but that's what I'm all about. Now, the reason I want to do this podcast mainly is because I want to get my voice out there. I want to help people. I want men to come forward. I want men to speak more freely and express how they're feeling. You know, if you don't want to talk, that's up to you. That's down to you. I'm not going to force anybody, but for us, we just need to have a good circle of friends around us and family that want to help people and want to help each other. You know, if you can't speak to anybody, then, you know, you're going to struggle. You really are. I'm not saying all men, you know, certain men have got it together, but other men, they've been through a lot and they don't quite know how to fix things and how to express what's happening in their life. So there's a lot of organizations that I want to work with. I would love to speak about, at the end of the day, yes, I would love to have people sponsoring the podcast. I would love that, obviously, but at the end of the day, I'm all about helping others. So, you know, there's certain organizations that I'd love to work with. There's strongman.org.uk that do magnificent things for men, and I'm sure they do a lot of work for others as well, but they help with people that have had bereavement in their life, and to get men out of their comfort zones and take them away and go on trips and spend together like a brotherhood. I've watched a few of the videos. The recent one you need to watch, the one with Mount Kilimanjaro trip that they did. It was really emotional. It was an amazing video to watch, and it just showed you the team and everything that they do for each other. It was amazing. And if they don't want to work with me or, you know, sponsor or anything, then I'm willing to help do sponsor charity stuff with them. I would love to go on the trips, you know, so I can basically let loose myself and express how I'm feeling more. The other organization is Man Cave. That's another organization locally that help men and to know that they've got a strong bond circle around each other, helping each other. I mean, that's amazing. I've got a few guests lined up. I've got a few of my friends that I would like to get on the podcast so they can express how they feel about loss and love. And, you know, if it can help them, they can advertise their business, advertise their books that they've released. You know, at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, to help each other. And that's what I want to do. The one thing I'm not going to do on the podcast is use people's names without their permission, of course. I mean, I'm entitled to talk about my mum. I'm entitled to talk about my little brother, Mark. But I won't talk about the rest of my siblings. I will talk about them, but I won't mention their names. It's only right. I'm going to talk about my kids, but I'm not going to be mentioning their names or mentioning their own personal things, because at the end of the day, that's their personal. It's nothing to do with me. I may be their father, but I don't have any right to discuss what they do in their lives. You know, I can only mention how proud I am of being their father and how amazing my kids are. They really are. And yes, I'm biased, but they really are. I'm not going to talk about past relationships, not in too much detail. I'm not going to be talking about my ex-wife in a negative way at any point of any of the podcasts. I'm never going to discuss. You know, I may be able to discuss what I did wrong in the sense that where I felt I could have done better, but I don't have a right to discuss her in that way. I don't have any animosity towards her. I had the best of times with her. She was my best friend, so I do miss her. You know, I was with her from the age of 21 up into my 40s, so we spent a lot of time together. We had shared a lot of experiences and a lot of ups and downs. But again, that's our business. I'm not going to discuss that. I don't have a right to do that in too much detail. And yeah, I just feel with me, life is way too short to live with this amount of pain. You know, it is a massive lesson in life, and it's all to do with balance. You know, you got to have that balance in life. To get that balance, it's really difficult, but it's like anything. You know, you have to balance your paychecks from week to week, month to month. You got to cover your bills. You got to balance it. Being a parent, you got to try and balance that love, especially if you've got more than one child. That you got to try and equally share the love between the two of them, and that's also difficult because you always feel that one of them needs a little bit extra love, but then the other one feels left out, and it's not fair. And yes, I'm a parent, and yes, I do make mistakes. I'll admit that. I feel like I'm a good father, but you know, I'm still learning. Every single day is a new challenge, and a lot of parents, when they go into being a parent, they got their misconceptions that they seem to believe that they've been told that when a child reaches 18 or a young adult reaches 18, they're out the house. That's your parenting job done. It's trust me, it's not. It never stops. You know, you're always going to be protective, no matter how old they get. And then when they have kids, then you're going to be overprotective of your grandkids. You know, it's a beautiful thing being a parent. It's one of the greatest miracles I've ever envisioned. You know, seeing your child being born is... And how two humans can make something like that then grows up to be a beautiful woman or a gifted man, someone that you can look to and go, wow, okay, I played a part in that. I used to take a lot of credit for everything that they did, because that's just the pride coming through. But the truth of the matter is they can take from both parents, but they add their own little bit of sugar to it as well. And that's what makes everybody unique. You know, I think when you get to a certain age, you look back on life and you miss a lot, you know, because it just goes so quick. You know, I remembered when I was 10, 12 years of age, between 10 and 12, and I'd look at my mother and she'd be in her early 30s, and I'd be like, blimey, now that's old. And then you blink, and then boom, you're in your 40s. And you can't believe that your kid is in their 20s as well. It's crazy to think that. Yeah, I put a lot of pressure on myself with this podcast, I think, because I advertised it quite a lot, because you've got to get your name out there. You've got to tell people what you're doing. And as the time crept up, and I had so many problems with my camera, so many problems trying to find the right streaming sites to use to record your video, and then there's always that issue with editing. But you know, at the end of the day, I was speaking to a few of my friends recently, and I said to them I was going to go straight off the cuff, straight off the dome. I'm not going to script it. There's so many podcasts out there that are scripted, and there's a reason why they're scripted, because then they have a start, middle and finish. I get that. You know, I'm going to learn. This is all new to me, so I'm going to just keep going ahead with what I'm doing. And yeah, there's certain elements that I'm going to add to it. Of course there is. and there will be a better structure moving forward. But this is just more of an introduction of what I'm about and what I want from this podcast. I think there's so many podcasts out there, and it's saturated with so many different subjects and what have you. But I enjoy quite a few. And I take little bits from them, and at the end of the day, just getting the confidence to sit in front of a camera, I think that's a massive plus. And then obviously speaking about your truth, because you got to speak your truth. I struggle, I'm not, I'm still broken. I'm still have my day-to-day struggles like anyone else does. And I've got some great friends that I can talk to, but again, everyone has their lives and everyone's busy, and I can only say from my point of view, at times, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to burden anybody with my issues. We all go through issues, and there's bigger issues in the world. That's what you got to look at. Anybody that used to moan at me and groan about the smallest of things, I would say, look, and I would turn on the 10 o'clock news and I go, there you go. That's a problem. They're real problems. And it's true, there's so many issues happening. And again, I'm not going to be on here. I'm not going to be discussing religion. No, I'm not going to fall down that trap. And I'm not going to be talking about war. I don't know enough to discuss that kind of subject. And that's not that type of podcast. I'll deal with the everyday wars that I go through. But because I'd say I know it. But yeah. But yeah, I love my family. I love my friends, and people know I'm an amazing guy. I don't really care. I can have the massive head because obviously I've got a big enough screen here to cover it, and this camera's 4K, but it's only covering on 720. But I've still got to learn all that as well. But yeah, we all want that life that's easy, right? Yeah, we all seem to think that, if we had more money, we'd be more happier. But then you would adjust, right? And you would live above your means, because we all live above our means. You get paid a certain amount of money, and your kids want them designer trainers, or they, and growing up, you didn't have certain things. See, I come from an island, and when we grew up, there wasn't this big thing about, the designer trainers and the designer clothing, but there were certain friends that we went to school with that both of their parents were working and earning a good whack of money. They had the holidays to America, and yeah, one of my school friends, I remembered there was a show back in the days that I'd still love, and there was, the new movie with Ryan Gosling, The Fall Guy. That was a remake as such, or based on the original TV show Fall Guy, which I loved as a kid. Living on the island, we used to watch it all the time. And one of our friends went away to the US, and when he came back, he had this leather jacket, and on the back of the leather jacket was an eagle. And it was exactly like the eagle on top of Colt Seaver's truck on the TV show The Fall Guy. And we were so jealous. Well, I know I was for certain. But that was just a feeling, because at the end of the day, I was happy. I had a good life. And when I say I had, I'm saying I had a good life on the island. I'm not saying had as in I don't have a life now. But it was way different then. We didn't have any stresses or any worries or concerns, or we didn't worry about our bills or anything like that, because that was my mum's worries. But when you get older, you realise, how the hell did my mum do all that? with 4 kids. I don't know how she did it. Yeah, she worked 2 jobs, and yes, she worked at night. And I remember, yeah, she used to work nights, and then because I was the oldest, then I would be there for my 3 siblings. And you just take it for granted. You do. You just take life for granted. You take what your parents did for granted. But when you get to a certain age and you realize what they have to do, or what they had to do because you're doing it now, it's only now that you start giving them props for what they did. And I do. I love my mum very dearly. Sorry, I was just looking up to her picture then, but I do miss her. And the hardest thing was just when my mum passed, the family disbanded and what have you, and they were nowhere to be seen. So I had to, we had to do it all by ourselves, and that was really difficult. We were all parents, all 4 of us are parents, and we all just had to get on with things. So it was really difficult, really, really, really tough. We didn't have anyone who we could talk to, and we didn't have anyone we could go to. So we had to just be there for each other. And our partners were the ones that helped pick us up. Recently, I went on a trip. I went to a trip in Romania, and a lot of people questioned and asked me why I went to Romania. Because it was my mum's dream. My mum never asked for much growing up. She never ever said to us exactly what she wanted in life. She just wanted to be a mother, and she was an amazing mother. And every little bit that she worked for, she gave it to us. So it was only right that I would fulfill her dream. So I did. I took her ashes to Transylvania. She always wanted to go to Dracula's castle, Bran in Romania, and it was daunting. It was a bit scary at times. I was a bit anxious about taking the trip, not knowing the area or the people or the language or anything, but sometimes you just got to take that plunge and take that risk. Because at the end of the day, it was all for my mother. So I did. I took the trip, and yes, it was lonely. It was really lonely. I asked a couple of people to go with me, but they couldn't, and that was fine. But I just felt it was a trip that I shouldn't have done by myself. It was too dark. It mentally messed me up as well on the trip, as much as I may have showed on the streaming sites, on the streaming platform, the stuff I was enjoying. Yeah, I got attacked by a dog, and a stray dog, or yeah, that was tough. That was sore. That was very painful. But I did it all for my mum, and I was told by one of my close friends, who you could say she's my therapist, that I was going to have an epiphany when I was out there. And it was going to happen straight after spreading my mother's ashes. And I did. And anyone who knows me personally would have seen the post that I posted. And I don't think many people took it serious. I don't think many people liked the picture, at least. I'm sure, like one of my friends said to me, at the end of the day, so many people will look at it, but they won't comment. And at times that can be a bit tough, especially when you're releasing or you're expressing your feelings, and then nobody comes back to you. And but the people that did come forward, they mean more to me than anyone else. So at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. But that was my epiphany, and that woke me up, and it told me I needed to do something with my life to add some sort of purpose. So I'm sorry if the podcast is all over the shop, and again, I'm sorry, it's just there's no actual structure to it as such, but I'm learning. This is new to me, I'm going to express how I feel, and I'm going to say what I feel I need to say. But again, it's not scripted. I'm not reading off anything. The only thing I'm going to read is at the end. I always feel most podcasts just end, and I feel something needs to be said, or you need to give some kind of uplift to somebody, because if somebody is listening and they can take something from it, then you've done what you set out to do. So I'll end every podcast with something I've written. Some people may laugh or what have you, but when I was younger, I used to write a lot of poetry. And I had a couple of poems that were published when I was younger. And then I used to songwrite. So I used to write songs. And yes, I wanted to be a budding rapper, and I used to write rap songs when I was young. And then I stopped doing it after my best friend died, because I didn't think it was that important anymore. So I stopped. So what I'm going to do after every podcast is I'm just going to share something either I found, I read, or something I've written myself. And hopefully it can help somebody. I'm trying to stick to 45 minutes per podcast. I think, people that know me know that I can talk. And I can talk a lot of gibberish as well. So again, I'm sorry if nothing's making any sense of what I'm saying, but I just want to get it out there. And just for anybody that doesn't really know me, then this is who I am, And no, I'm not on here to treat it like a dating site. Yes, it would be lovely to meet somebody. But, I'm not going to... I don't feel I need to sell myself anymore. I've done that for so many years. And at times, I'm not my true honest self, because I try to be what other people want me to be, if that sounds right. But I am good. I am a good person. I don't feel I need to pass the interview. If you don't like me in that way, then that's down to you. At the end of the day, I feel that's your loss. I've tried many of occasions, and I've been hurt so many flipping times. It's really difficult to, take down them barriers. And then so many red flags come up again, and then it always seems to go down the same route. I think we're all hurting. But like I've seen in many videos that I've been watching lately, if you're not 100% within yourself, then how can you give 100% to somebody else? We can all be false and all put on some kind of a mask on and try and act like we're 100%. But if you're not, there's no point. I'm probably around about 87%, but I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. I need a little bit of work, but yeah. So for me, I put a lot of pressure on myself to get this done. So it might not come out as good as I actually wanted it to be. But I've already done the second episode already, and it's on the audio. And so I just wanted to try this out and see if somebody likes it, if somebody thinks it's okay, then yeah, I'll keep doing it. But if not, then I'll just stick to the audio. But yeah, so thank you. Hopefully it went okay. Hopefully it went okay. So yeah, so I've got something that I found, and I took a lot from other bits and added a little bit of my own to it. And yeah, it's about keeping going, to keep going in life and to never give up. So here we go. Losing someone you love is one of the most painful experiences in life. It feels like the world stops spinning, like a part of your heart is missing, and you're not sure how to keep moving forward without them. But here's the truth. Love doesn't end with just goodbye. The love you shared, the memories you made, the laughter, the tears, those things are yours forever. No one, not even time, can take them away from you. And though they may not be here the way they once were, their love still lives inside you. It lives in the way you speak, the way you care, the way you show up for others. It lives in your strength, in your softness, in your courage to wake up and keep going, even when it is hard. You don't have to get over it. You're not supposed to. You're meant to carry it. Not as a weight, but as a part of you. Like a scar that proves you survived something real. Something that mattered. It's okay to cry. It's okay to miss them. It's okay to laugh again too. You are not betraying their memory by living. You are honouring them. Because every time you rise after falling, every time you find a reason to smile through your tears, every time you keep going when your heart aches, that's love in motion. That's their light shining through you. So take your time. Breathe. Grieve in your own way, your own time. And know this, they would want you to keep going, to live, to love, to feel joy again. Not because you've forgotten them, but because their love gave you the strength to carry on. And you will. Thank you. So once I get everything loaded, hopefully that sounded okay. Once I get it loaded up onto the streaming platforms, I would love it if you would like to subscribe. Click on the like button, because it's going to help me. It's going to get me out on the algorithm. Again, this is just the first one. It's a bit rusty, and I do apologize. It's not going to be perfect. But, I'm trying. And, God loves a trier. And I'm only going to get better, obviously, through practicing more and what have you. And the second one I feel is pretty good as well. So once I get it all up and running, hopefully by next weekend, I'll get it uploaded. I'll get the second one uploaded, and hopefully it's perceived in a good way. If not, I can take, we can all take constructive criticism. Somebody may be able to help me and assist me in a better way. I had to change my glasses because of the light that was shining on it, and there's still a bit of light because obviously I've got stuff up on my screen that I need, and I obviously need to see that I'm doing it correctly. So I'm hoping it came through okay, and hopefully I sold myself enough to make you want to come back for more. But I really appreciate everyone, and big thanks to my family members that helped me get through this, and to my friends, not only for the podcast, but for all the years of helping me to keep going. Because there has been times, I ain't gonna lie, there's been times that I wanted to give up many, many times. And I would never take the coward way out of life. But it is a struggle at times. You just feel like you're just riding all the time on bad luck. And you just got to be genuine with yourself. And you just got to surround yourself with positivity. When there's so much negative in the world, I tell people all the time, when it just gets too negative, then no, I don't want to hear it. My kids do the same. They'll tell, nope, I don't want any negativity. All I want is positivity around me, because you're bringing me down. And they do. And they give me the strength to keep fighting on. But yeah, guys, thank you. And that was just more of an introduction, and hopefully as time goes on and I've got a few guests, like I said, you lined up, it'll open the floor to other people that want to express how they feel. And again, it's not solely aimed at men, it's women as well. And hopefully women listening and watching can understand what certain men are going through, and then maybe they can get a better understanding of how our brain works and how we struggle, you know. And then hopefully certain women, it might, you know, help them with their partners that are going through the same kind of stuff, and maybe it can help. But yeah, there's many organizations I will be putting down below on my YouTube. You know, if you're needing help and you need to reach out, then, you know, I'll always be here. You know, if you want to send me a message on YouTube or any of these streaming platforms, I'm always going to be there for people. I'll always make time for people. And if I can't help you, then I'll find the help that you need. Others may have given up on you, but I won't. You know, I'll never give up. Never, ever. All right, so thank you. And I appreciate, and I'm grateful. Thank you.